All right, welcome back to the Roblox course, and in this lecture, we're going to talk about the touch event. Now, I have already created a new script called touch example inside of our server script service, and I've loaded in our myPart2 here as a local variable, and we're just going to look into what we can do. So, in order to use this touched event, what we have to do is we have to take myPart, and we can say myPart, and then do touched. This is one of those, as you can see in the suggestion there, this is one of the lightning bolts. So this is an event, and the way we use events is basically we take an event and then put a colon in afterwards, and then say connect. And inside here we have to supply a function. So for example, function, and then everything written in here is executed every time this, something touches this part. And that's basically the idea here. So what we can do is we can say, hey, and the great thing about this function here is that this actually supplies the other part that is touching my part in this case. So what we can say is, something like this. I'm being, well, that's an unfortunate phrasing. I'm being touched by other part. There you go. But yeah, let's keep it like that. And yeah. Now, what's also very important is that my part, it has to be anchored. Otherwise, it will just fall to the base plate, and then the base plate will keep touching the part, and that's currently not what we want. So let's just see in-game how this looks. And let's just go to the part. It's going to be the one that's not transparent. And as you can see, as soon as I touch it, a whole bunch of stuff is touching it. Now, why is that the case? Well, my model here is actually more than just, it's more than one part. It's multiple parts. So as you can see, if I'm very careful about this, I can get it so that the right hand is currently touching it. And then, right upper arm, and then maybe I can get like yeah, exactly. If I stand on it, then I can get the foot to touch it. And so yeah, so basically you can have different parts of your character model touch it. But currently this is not quite what I wanted to do. I wanted to, do something a little weird, a little funky. Why not? And what we're going to do first of all is we're going to create a new local boolean here called moving. It's going to be false in the beginning. What we're going to do is every time you touch this part, it's going to just move a little bit. So yeah, let's just see what happens. And what I want to do is basically, okay, each time I'm not moving, so the part is not moving right now, it's stationary. Then I'm going to say, okay, so then we know that moving is false, and then I want to do something, and then I want it to move. And because it's moving now, we can set moving to true, because of course now we are moving. Now, of course, nothing happens right now, that no movement is happening here, but this is what we're going to do now. And for that, I actually also want the coordinates for this. So we're just going to copy this position with Control-C or Command-C for Mac. And then we're going to do a for loop. And this for loop is going to start at 0, go to 10, and increase by 1. And then we're going to say myPart.position. Now we've already seen the position, that we can just set it to a new vector. So we can say vector3.new. And then we can say something like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add I to this, right? So to the X position, we're just going to add I. And then actually let's start at 1 then. That makes a little bit more sense. And let's also print out, just for the sake of argument here. Oh, no, print, please. Not pront. Print out, I'm changing my position. There you go. Now, after this for loop, we can think about this, right? So I'm touching the part once. Moving is false, so we're going to move in true. And then each time I touch it with another part, it doesn't matter, because we're right now moving, so we cannot enter this again. And this for loop is going to start, and it's going to go through 1 to 10, and it's going to move the part. But what we really want is we want it to wait a second here, right? Because if we wait a second, then it's going to slowly move along. And once it's done, we have stop moving. So then we can say moving equals false again. Now, if this doesn't really follow if you don't quite understand the logic, what I would implore you to do is to just go through this a little bit, try it out. Take this script and just play around with a few parts of it. This simply comes in after you've scripted or programmed for a long time. There are just some things that you have to build up everything from the bottom up, right? So this is why I said that there are a lot of tools in your toolbox that you're going to need, and this is a continual process, right? At the end of the day, a course can bring you a long while further along, right? Without a doubt. But at the end of the day, you're not going to create the next Crisis, let's say, or I don't know, that's maybe not the best example, maybe the next Call of Duty by watching one course, right? There is some self-learning to do that you need to do, and this is one part of it. Playing around with these scripts is the best thing that you can do. So if you didn't follow exactly, that's what I would implore you to do. And let's just see what happens if we now do this. Now, what I always advise is, if you program something like this, then you should always have in mind, okay, I'm expecting this to happen, and then let's see. So what I'm expecting right now is as soon as I touch it, after 1 second, this block is going to move, one stud into this direction, and then another, and then another, and then another, until it has reached 10 studs, and every time it moves, it's going to print out I'm changing my position, something like that. And after that had been printed out 10 times, it's going to stop and remain in that position. Let's see if that happens. So I touched it, and then there you go. So it's slowly moving along and slowly moving along. And as you can see, this is 5 times, 6 times, and at times 10, it should stop. Now it should stop. It has stopped and is fine. And now what I'm expecting is, because this is not let's say, the new position, it's going to reset again and go back here. Once I touched it again, after a second, it's going to go here and then move there to there again. So let's see if that happens. And indeed, it did go back, and now it is moving here again. Right, and it's going to stop at times 20 this time. Right, there you go. Right, and that is just an example. So this is not really anything that's, what would you say? It's not really anything practical. It's just a demonstration to show how you could build something from the ground up. That there are probably some things where this might be useful. And yeah, this is just a short introduction or overview of the touched event. And I hope that was informative to you. And of course, if there are any questions, always feel free to ask, and I'll be sure to respond. And yeah.